Well, hello, ladies and gents. Great to see you again. Welcome back to Game Changers, the lessons you never learned in school. Ryan Ruff here, your moderator. But as always, I've got our star of the show in Barry Garapedian, the president and CEO of Mag 7 Consulting. We're going to get into another great conversation today. Some of these principles of achievement that Barry not only implements in his own life, but of course works with the young minds over at Mag 7 Consulting to begin implementing in their lives. If you're a recurring viewer or listener of the show, we've talked through a lot of interesting strategies and tactics, if you will, that you can be incorporating into your day-to-day to really become a successful individual in both maybe your career or just your personal life. And today we have a really, really good topic that we want to jump into today. And it's funny, a lot of folks focus on one element of this, but not necessarily the other. I'll get into what I mean in just a moment. But first, let's go ahead and say hi to Barry. Barry, good to see you. How you doing today?
Ryan, it is wonderful to be here. I am so glad we're talking about this particular topic. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and Barry, this is one, as we've been talking about these different episodes on this show, it's a common thread that finds its way through a lot of the discussions we've had. Why don't you frame things up to the audience today? What are we talking about?
When I first started my career, everyone talked about time management. And guess what? That's important, but there's a better way. It's energy management. We need to measure our energy throughout the day to have a kick-ass day. And it starts the evening before. So when I think of energy management, it's not so much what my calendar is saying, is do I have the absolute enthusiasm and pizzazz to bring it at 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night? And so we want to really dive into this and really talk about tactics that really work.
Of course. And I mean, how many of us out there have had that meeting or that get together late in the afternoon? Their physical battery is zapped and they don't give it their all. And then of course that experience or that mark that they left on that meeting or conversation had a ripple effect in one way or another. So really good conversation. Of course, our episode entitled today, Managing Your Energy for a Complex World. Let's just kind of set the scene here, Barry. I know there's kind of 4 key components of energy management that we wanted to get into today. Why don't you frame those up for our audience from a high level? And then, of course, we'll get into each one more granularly in a moment.
Well, I want to start with win the morning narrative. And when I mean by win the morning, you win the day. So you get off on a good start. Now, it starts the evening before. It starts, what time are you going to bed? So for me, I want to be tucked in at 9:30 at night, because I'm getting up at 4:15 in the morning. And what I do in the morning is I have my process, my rituals, and I do this religiously, even on the weekends. It is taking a cold shower for a couple minutes. It's doing sit-ups and push-ups, and it's doing a 90-second plank. I get that done before I leave the bathroom and before I go to the pool, and I swim and I start my day. So I like process, I like rituals, but it starts the evening before. And if I feel I've done those things in the morning, I feel I have momentum and I'm going into my day with gunpowder behind me. So I like that theme.
Sure. Well, let's double click into that, because I understand, when we were talking about this conversation offline, you had mentioned there was a book that really kind of motivated you to start implementing some of these healthy habits in the morning so that you could ultimately win the day. What was that book, and how did you live by it, really?
The book is called The 5 a.m. Club. Now, everybody has to get up at 5 a.m., but the idea is you get up early, get things done. There's something beautiful about the morning, about it's quiet. Not many people are up. You're doing things and your brain is working really sharp. And the book was written years ago by, I believe, Robin Sharma. And the metaphor is get up early and get things done, get a head start. And so with that, I also have the narrative that you never hit the snooze button. So I believe that was in the book, that if you hit the snooze button, it's an instant defeat. It puts you back 20, 30 minutes. And it's hard to catch up. It's basically like a failure. You're deferring. You snooze. Are you really getting good sleep when you snooze? No. So no snooze button. But also the idea is to play offense. So honor the alarm clock. I still use an alarm. It still wakes me up. And is it that early? Is it time to get up? And it's hard to get up in the morning, guys. I know it's not easy. It's hard for me, but it's very important if you want to be a high performer. If you want to really build something that's worthwhile, you got to get up early. You can't get up
Mhm.
at 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning and expect to be really productive.
Of course. All right. Well, let's transition now into the next big component of this whole, energy management conversation, and that's, look, your energy is dictated by probably a few things. Set the scene for us on this one here, Barry.
Well, there's many pieces of the puzzle when I think about what you're eating and how you're maintaining your energy through the day. So I'm very religious on what I'm putting in my body. I'm drinking half my body weight in ounces. So if I weigh 160 pounds, I'm drinking 80 ounces of water a day. I'm very mindful of eating my protein, which if I weigh 160 pounds, I'm eating 160 grams of protein a day. I'm not eating a lot of carbs in the middle of the day, which can make you very lazy. So the diet is really, really important to sustaining a great day. But also, if you're eating the wrong foods, it's going to make you tired. And what happens around 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, oftentimes is very much wasted. And that could be a very productive time. So oftentimes in the middle of the day, Ryan, I work out. I just got back from a workout. I just got done with a workout that's a cardio workout. And the reason I like a cardio workout in the middle of the day is breathing. And when you breathe, you're oxygenating your blood. So swimming, cycling, tennis, running, anything that you're breathing is something that I would do religiously in the middle of the day. Define the middle of the day anywhere from 11 to 1 o'clock. And it's sort of reboots my computer so I can have a real kick-ass afternoon.
I love it. Even when we were sitting down planning out today's conversation here, when we were going to press the record button, I know you had a tennis match lined up right after our meeting, which I just love. But Barry, what do you say to the individual that's like, I just can't get away in the middle of the day? Well, what's your feedback to somebody that kind of makes that excuse, for lack of a better term?
You need to take some mental acuity breaks then. So maybe it's some personal reading. Maybe it's something that can get you away from the desk or the computer, a walk outside. You need to find something that can distract your brain and reboot the computer. However you do that, maybe you just take a shower again. You don't need to work out. I find taking a shower in the middle of the day is very refreshing, and it sort of reboots the computer. Okay, round two. And I can make my 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock. I know it's hard. People are going home. You're saying you're there. So I try to make my afternoon very, very productive, but it's a mindset. So you start with the mindset. The mindset is I want to have a productive 3/4 of the day. So the first part is the morning, then you have the afternoon, then you have your evening. And the evening also is very productive because I have the energy and I'm not eating rich, sugary foods. And matter of fact, I eat very little sugar. Sugar is one of the biggest killers in our society is with obesity. So yeah, we have a little sugar here and there, but be mindful of that.
Of course, of course. Well, it's really ultimately coming down to that idea of recharging, resetting, rebooting. I agree. I'm also personally just a big believer in that afternoon shower. I love it, but it gets a little pizzazz and pep in the step for the afternoon and into, of course, the evening. But Barry, let's move into our third factor here now. I mentioned the word itself a moment ago, and that's excuses. I know
Mhm.
you have no time or no room for them, but talk to me about this idea of excuses.
Well, excuses are take energy away. You're looking at in traffic. No one wants to hear the excuse. You move on, apologize, and move on. And the reality is, things happen in life. People know that, but we have to figure out how to get things done. And so, getting things done means having the structure and the process in your day. You have the energy to facilitate a kick-ass day, but excuses don't make you better. They actually disempower you, Ryan. So I really work hard not giving excuses. It's hard because there is a legitimate excuse most of the
Sure,
time,
sure.
but in reality, it doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve you.
How often, Barry, do we throw an excuse out there? Maybe it was a knee jerk reaction or it was a legitimate excuse and it actually solves the issue from the root. It never does, right? So I love your mentality of just kind of apologize and move on and then address whatever you were set out to address in an efficient manner.
If you do something that is not right or someone corrects you, take it. It's constructive criticism. Accept it. Move on, and it's a learning experience. So these are the kinds of things that you need the energy to not have a short fuse. If you're so wiped out, tired, you're going to have a real short fuse. You're not going to be able to do that. You need to have the bandwidth to accept and be a good listener. So that good listening is a skill. And so being rested and energized, I can be a good listener. So
Sure.
it goes both
Sure.
ways, not just throwing out offense, but receiving information and also solving problems. How are you going to solve problems if you don't have the energy? Think about that.
Yeah.
Our job is being a pain detective and solving issues and fixing things. You need the energy.
Think about some of the best things that happen in your life. Most of the time, they came to fruition on the backside of some struggle, the backside of an issue that you had to deal with. And if you were making excuses or you didn't have the energy to be able to take it head on, well, you never saw that glory. You never saw that win in
And
your
this is the
life.
mental acuity part of energy, is that it's just not the physical energy, it's the mental acuity of being patient, listening, breathing, hearing the person, figuring things out. You need the bandwidth and the space in your brain to do that. How do you do that? Going to bed at midnight and getting up at 4 a.m. doesn't work. If I go to bed at midnight, it'd be very difficult for me to operate a real productive day. I have to be tucked in early to have a kick-ass day. And I'm a high performer. That's part of the game.
Barry, let's jump into the fourth and final kind of key component of this whole energy management conversation. And for anybody that has spent 5 minutes listening or watching this show or exposed to just you in general, Barry, they understand that you're different and it takes energy to be different, and different is good. Talk to me about this idea of different and why it is just so important to allocate some of your energy towards it.
And when I think about different, I think about being a positive disruptor. So let's talk about being different and being a positive disruptor. Let's say I go to a wedding, I go to a party. Oftentimes, what I will do, and to give you an example of disruption in a positive way, is I'll ask the host or the hostess, could I do a reel? Could I go to the party and interview 25, 30 people and say something nice about the birthday boy? Say something nice about the groom and the bride. And I'll go to 25, 30, 35, 40 people on my phone, take snapshots of video, give it to my videographer, and create a 5 to 7 minute reel and gift it to the host or the hostess. That is what I mean by positive disruption. Very few people do that. Now, what's in it for me? It's fun. I'm meeting lots of people. I'm in the third person. I'm doing something for the greater good of someone else. And guess what? People love being on camera in a very social way. So I do that frequently. And I love the reactions of people when I say, okay, 3, 2, 1, you're on. Say something about Billy. Boom. And they're on for 25 seconds. That's an example. I do that all the time.
Mm-hmm. And it takes energy to do that in the first place. It's different. And you know what? It's going to leave a lasting impression on somebody, or a memory, a tangible memory from, let's say, that event.
It does take energy, and it takes a little nerve to be out there talking to strangers. But the benefit and the fun that I can go into a room that I don't know anyone. I might know 2 or 3 people, and I know 95% of people I don't know. I instantly am making acquaintances. Instantly. Mm-hmm. By that disruption. That's what I mean by a positive disruption.
I love it. Barry, look, I know you live this each and every day, of this mantra and this overall topic of energy management, but is there any story that maybe comes to mind of maybe the inverse, actually, maybe one of those moments where maybe Barry didn't uphold his end of the bargain and go to bed and get himself tucked in for an aggressive day and seizing the morning kind of thing? Any story come to mind?
Yeah, I think there is a story, and you just hit the nail on the head, is going to bed. I'll give you an example. I go to a baseball game. I'm a big Dodger fan. Go to a Dodger game, get home late, 11 o'clock. And I say, oh my God, how am I going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning? And it's going to mess my whole day up by me going to bed at midnight. That's challenging. And that's life. That happens. What do you do? I'll probably sleep in. So I sleep in. I miss my swim. I miss my protocols. I miss my win in the morning. I have meetings start at 8 in the morning. There's a great example of life. And it's life, guys. This is real. Stuff happens. And you have to understand that's going to happen every now and then. You cannot be perfect in this. I'm not perfect in this, but that happens. So handle it with grace, accept it, move on, minimize those times. On the same token, I love when I'm on it and I'm up early and I'm doing my protocols and I'm on it and it feels great to have everything organized. I'm prepped, I'm planned. I'm together. So I know both ways how it feels, but there's an example of just being up later. And I'm not a drinker. I mean, alcohol is another issue that if you're a drinker, a big drinker, and gosh, getting up with a hangover or groggy or dizzy, why do you do that? I mean, how can you possibly perform at a high level when you have alcohol or other substances in your body? It is hard to do it straight. And you're throwing those other things in there, you're making it almost impossible.
Yeah. Well, hey, I appreciate you sharing that. I mean, of course, Barry, you share a lot of these life lessons and these things that you've learned yourself over time, and you work with a lot of young adults over at Mag 7 Consultant to really implement a lot of these things. But I appreciate you sharing. I mean, you're human too, right? It's fun to go to that Dodger game. It's fun to stay up late every now and then, but it's about getting back up on the horse, making sure you apologize to yourself, if you will, and then of course move on. Barry, we've thrown a lot of kind of takeaways, if you will, at our audience today. But if you had to whittle the whole conversation down into a few tangible items that somebody could walk away with, or maybe even a challenge to somebody, hey, start working on this in your life so that you can win the morning, win the day. You can be a champion of your own energy management. What would some of those key takeaways be?
Well, I think the takeaway is that if you really want to be a high performer, you have to think of yourself as a corporate athlete, and a corporate athlete and a real world-class Olympian goes to bed early so they can perform. It's the same thing in our life. So I think of myself of going to bed early, feeding myself, nourishing my body, being around good energy, being around good people, adding value, and I am ready to light it up the next day. That's the takeaway. And if you do this, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. It's contagious, but it's hard to do. And life is life. Give yourself grace if it doesn't work out. This happens every now and then with me. And if I have to sleep in the morning, I'll sleep in. It's not, am I sleeping in to me? It's like 6 a.m, but that's sleeping in. But it's still, it's still challenging. But no, I think give yourself grace. But more importantly, if you really want to be a high performer, you have to bring this in, and you have to think about energy management. That really is the bottom line.
I love it. Barry, again, I mentioned it a moment ago. These are the same conversations that you work with the young minds over at Mag 7 Consulting with, trying to implement this into their world so that they can grow themselves into be those corporate athletes we talk about and to find success in their personal lives. For anybody out there, maybe it's a parent or guardian, or maybe it's that young adult themselves that found their way over to this show that's interested in some of these additional teachings and lessons and principles to live by. What would be the best way somebody could reach out to you and your team at Mag 7 and just
Sure.
kind of open up a dialogue?
Well, first of all, my phone number is 818-427-6109. And my email is Barry, Barry, at mag, MAG, the letter number 7, consultants.com. And, as we're doing this presentation, Ryan, right before this presentation, I was on the tennis court in 98-degree heat, snapping tennis balls back and forth. So I think the bottom line is actually we are doing this. So I encourage every one of you to get out there and make things happen and be that athlete, but also bring it to the corporate structure as well.
I love it. Well, Barry, thanks so much for carving some time out of your day. I'm glad you were able to hit those balls so that you have that reset, that energy to be able to sit down with me today. But looking forward to being back here on the next one with you.
Ryan, thank you as always. Take care.
Of course. And folks, we're going to take a final moment, as we always do, and thank you guys for stopping by, making us a part of your day, and learning some of the teachings that Barry puts forth here on the show. If you enjoy the day's discussion, you learned a thing or two, make sure you hit that subscribe button on the platform that you checked us out on today so that you don't miss out on other great conversations that Barry and I have, where we discuss some of the principles of achievement, these lessons that folks never learned in school when they grew up so they could find success in both their careers and, of course, their personal life as well. Before Barry, I'm Ryan. We're going to go and say so long now, but we appreciate you stopping by and being with us on Game Changers.